All right, before we start here, let's review some of the terminology that we learned the other day. Well, we had the line. If you remember on the line, it continues to go one direction and the other. That is considered a line. We also learned about array, which is we have a stopping point and it then continues going one direction or the other. The next one we learned was the line segment, meaning it ended on both ends and we're just measuring the inside part. Now the other part we learned about is this little Pac-Man looking guy that just ran away, and he is called an angle. So those are the different things that we learned. And let me just draw you a little angle here. Right there's an angle. And we labeled the parts, if you could remember what went here and what was right there. All right, let's take a look at measurable attributes. Now we can measure weight and mass. Now, what would we use to measure weight? I'm going to give, let's have the boys. What kind of things do we use to measure weight? No, not your fruit and how much you weigh. We're talking about pounds. We're talking about grams. Those are the types of things that we use to measure weight and mass. Now, we're going to pause here. What do we use to measure time? All right, for time, we used minutes, hours, quarter hours. All right, what about volume and capacity? We'll pause for this one too. All right, for volume and capacity, we might have measured in liters, milliliters, and on and on. What about length? What do we use to measure length and distance? Well, for length and distance, we might use inches, miles, centimeters. So a bunch of different things that we would use to measure all of those. All right, so now what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to have you make an angle with your arms. I want you to make an angle, and I want your neighbor to make an angle, and I want you to decide who has the greater size of angle. Where do we measure that? Keep in mind, when we have an angle, we might have an array, right? It goes straight out and keeps going. We could have a segment, but we're not going to do a straight line, right? It's not going to continue going both ways. So it could go both of these, or it could be one line segment, and it could be one ray. But I want you to make an angle, and I want you to mimic that of your partner. And then you're going to do the same for them. They'll make an angle, and you're going to make the same size angle. I want you to take a picture, and you're going to upload it on the next slide.